Hello everyone, I am Bhavika Bansal from Chandigarh Civil Services. So today we are starting with this new free lecture series in which every week I will be discussing with you one topic of law optional. In this, I will be explaining you how the topic has to be studied. I will be covering all the subtopics which have to be studied in relation to it, and then we'll discuss one of the subtopics in detail, and then we'll also have a look at the questions already asked in relation to that topic. Today I'm starting with law of contracts, one of the very important parts of paper 2 of law optional. Out of this subject, every year we can see that at least 20 marks of the compulsory paper comprises of it. If we also include the questions which have in which we have a choice, so around 4 to 6 questions are asked every year. Being a basic subject, uh, it gives an edge in the optional paper because the questions asked on it are very easy to attempt. So today, firstly, I'm going to give you an overview of the first topic of contracts, law of contract, that is nature and formation of contract or e-contract, and after this, I will explain one of its subtopic. So for the purpose of study, we divide the topic nature and formation of contracts into further subtopics, which include essentials of contract, difference between agreement and contract, offer, its types, revocation, and invitation to offer. Then we include acceptance and consideration in it. So this topic is basically chapter 1 and 2 of the Indian Contract Act of 1872. These chapters provide the essential ingredients of contract. So the first thing that I want to discuss with you is that what is a contract. So when a person A, who's a proposer, sends a proposal to the person B, who's an offeree, and that person B accepts that proposal, then that proposal becomes a promise. And when the promise is accompanied by a consideration by the person B, it becomes an agreement. And an agreement is only called a contract if it fulfills the conditions of section 10. So if we read the definition of contract, it says that the agreements which are enforceable by law are called contracts. Now I'll explain the topic of offer, which is also called as proposal. What are its types? I'll also explain what is invitation to treat and how an offer can be revoked. Proposal means an intention to create a legal relationship. Under Section 2A of the Contract Act, the word proposal is defined as when one person signifies to another his willingness to do or to abstain from doing anything with a view to obtaining the assent of that other to such act or abstinence, he is said to make a proposal. So, from this definition of proposal, we are able to derive four essentials that are to signify to another the willingness to do or to abstain from doing to obtain the assent of the other. The first essential is to signify, which means to communicate. Communication can be expressed as well as implied. Like if I go to A and tell him that I want to sell my house, this is an express communication of proposal. For implied communication of proposal, there is a case law called Upton Rural District Council versus Powell. इस केस में हुआ क्या था कि पॉवल के घर को आग लग जाती है और प्लेंटिफ की जो कंपनी है वो एक फायर ब्रिगेड कंपनी है जिसकी पॉलिसी है कि एक सर्टन स्पेसिफाइड लिमिट ऑफ द सिटी में इट डजंट चार्जेस एनी मनी, बट इफ द प्रॉपर्टी इज सिचुएटेड आउटसाइड दैट लिमिट देन द मनी विल बी चार्ज. पॉवल को लगता है कि उसका घर वो स्पेसिफाइड लिमिट के अंदर आता है एंड ही कॉल्स द कंपनी फॉर हेल्प एंड द कंपनी कम्स एंड डिफ्यूजेस द फायर एंड आस्क्स फॉर मनी. तो पॉवल कहता है कि मैं तो प्रिस्क्राइब लिमिट के बीच में रहता हूँ, सो व्हाई शुड आई पे, बट द कंपनी says that you are outside the prescribed limits. Then Powell claims that I just made an offer and neither I had an intention to pay. So court ने इसमें कहा कि whenever you ask for some services which are not generally offered for free, then there is an implied duty to pay for those services. Similarly, communication can be by an act or by an omission. For example, if I call people and tell them that I want to sell my car for 20 lakh rupees, and the ones who are interested can keep sitting and others can leave. One person kept sitting and others left. One that one person's omission to leave the room amounts to proposal. Further, communication must be in the intended way. So only if the proposal is communicated in an authorized manner, कि जो मैनर डिसाइड करा गया था या एक मैनर जो कि प्रिस्क्राइब्ड है या ऑथराइज्ड है, देन ओनली इट विल बी कंसिडर्ड एज अ वैलिड प्रपोजल. Lastly, the proposal must be complete. That is, offeree must have knowledge of the proposal. There is a famous case law known as Lalman Shukla versus Gauri Dutt related to this. इस केस में क्या हुआ था कि डिफेंडेंट का नेफ्यू खो जाता है और वो अपने सर्वेंट को उसको ढूंढने के लिए भेज देते हैं. जब सर्वेंट ढूंढने के लिए चला जाता है, उसके पीछे से डिफेंडेंट एक अवार्ड अनाउंस कर देता है कि जो भी मेरे नेफ्यू को ढूंढ के लाएगा, मैं उसको सर्टन सम ऑफ मनी दूंगा. सर्वेंट नेफ्यू को लेके वापस आ जाता है, पर कुछ टाइम बाद सर्वेंट को पता लगता है कि नेफ्यू को ढूंढने के लिए तो अवार्ड था. जब वो क्लेम करने के लिए डिफेंडेंट के पास जाता है तो डिफेंडेंट रिफ्यूज़ कर देता है. तो सर्वेंट अप्रोचेस द कोर्ट. इसमें कोर्ट ने ये हेल्ड करा था कि द सर्वेंट हैड नो नॉलेज ऑफ प्रपोजल व्हेन ही फाउंड द नेफ्यू, so his act of finding the nephew will not amount to acceptance of proposal. For the purpose of acceptance, the proposal must be communicated. That is, it must have come to the knowledge of the offeree for it to be accepted. The second essential is another. This another can be one person also or a group of persons also. In this, there is a case cited as Carlyle versus Carbolic Smokeball Company, in which the Queen's Bench held that offer can be given to anyone, whether it is an individual or specific people or general public at large. So from here we come to know that proposal is of two types, general and specific. For example, if I say that I want to sell my house to A, this is an example of a specific offer. Or I say that I want to sell my house to anyone who is preparing for law optional. So this is also a type of specific offer. But if I say that I want to sell my house and anyone can accept it, this will be considered as a general offer. The third essential is willingness. Willingness must be to do or to abstain from doing anything. Willingness means the desire of the person to do some act of a physical character or not to do something which the person was about to do. So it includes only those acts which are possible for a person to do. इसमें फॉर एग्जांपल आपका एक ड्राइवर है जो आपकी कार चलाता है एंड यू आर ट्रैवलिंग फ्रॉम चंडीगढ़ टू दिल्ली. बीच रास्ते में वो ड्राइवर कहता है कि मैं आगे नहीं जाऊंगा, आई एम लीविंग द कार इन ऑन द हाईवे. और आप उसे कहते हैं कि प्लीज़ मुझे दिल्ली तक ले चल, मैं तेरे को उसके एक्स्ट्रा पैसे दे दूंगी एंड आई विल पे यू एक्स्ट्रा. सो द ड्राइवर एग्रीज एंड ही टेक्स यू टू दिल्ली. But this proposal by you that I will pay you extra, please take me to Delhi, is not a valid proposal because he was already bound to take you to Delhi. The last essential is to obtain the assent. The proposal is made to obtain the assent of the another person. Such willingness is communicated that the other person's assent can be obtained on the proposal. So here arises a concept of invitation to treat, which is different from offer. In offer, the willingness is performed on assent, and in invitation to treat, willingness is communicated to obtain the offer from another person. So it means that if the willingness is performed on assent, then it is called offer. And if the willingness is communicated to obtain the offer of another person, then it is called invitation to treat, which is not an offer. The last topic of the day is revocation of proposal. Section 6 of the Indian Contract Act provides for four modes of revocation of proposal. The first mode is by notice. Notice can be oral, written, or it can be even by conduct. For example, if I tell you that I want to sell my house to you, but later on I sold it to someone else, this is the revocation of proposal by conduct. The second mode is by lapse of a time period. If there is a time period prescribed and that time lapses, then the offer is automatically revoked. However, if there is no time period prescribed, then after a reasonable time the offer will be revoked itself. The third mode of revocation is the failure to perform a condition precedent. So, if a proposer imposes a condition on the offer that only on the fulfillment of that condition the proposal will be valid, and the proposee or offeree does not fulfill that condition, then the offer automatically stands revoked. Lastly, the offer can also be revoked by death or insanity of the proposer. However, the knowledge of the death or insanity of the proposer must reach the offeree before the acceptance. So, if the offeree didn't have any knowledge of the death or insanity of the proposer and he accepts the proposal, it will be considered as a valid one. So finally, I come to the last segment of the video, that is the previous year questions. As you can see on the screen that there are 5 questions that have been asked from this topic of proposal in the last 15 or so years. And out of these questions also, 3 times that this topic of proposal have been asked in the compulsory part of the paper. So it is an important part, and I would suggest you to write all these questions down. And if you want, you can also send them for checking to me at my email id law.bhavikabansal@gmail.com.